That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It is huge. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Chris here, CG Aviator, this time back in the cockpit of the mighty Vulcan. And in this video we're going to do some air-to-air refueling with a Victor tanker, just like they did on the Black Buck raids down to the Falkland Islands in 1982. So Airshow Assistant has been updated to version 3, and that brings a whole host of extra features, including the Victor tanker, and I'll show you some of those as we go through, as well as talk about some of the nuances of flying this big old heavy bird and trying to hit a target that's about 2 foot by 2 foot. So first off, let's check out the app. So here's Airshow Assistant, updated now, version 3. Here's the new screen, you can see extra features. The first thing I tend to do is make sure that my drogue is going to be simulated in the correct place. So I'll click this basket up here and you can see the drogue simulates and says, hey, this is where it's going to be expecting the probe to be. So that is all set up good to go. I set my tanker to 260 knots already, and now you can see all the extra aircraft you can get. So 46, 78 and 25 you already had, but now we've got an A310, a Victor and an F-18. So oh my goodness, there's so much to be had with this app now. We're going to set it to Pro, we're going to set it to Victor, and now you've also got different methods of intercept. You've got Buddy, where it'll pull up in front of you. You've got Intercept with a collision or a slightly off collision course. And then Orbit, where it, I guess, goes around in circles, which is really cool. I haven't tried them all, but I'm excited to do so. Let's go for Buddy. It should pull in front of us, and we'll request tanker now. Sometimes it doesn't go on the first click, so I deselect it and reselect it, and that tends to see him pop up. There he is, snotting along, probably going a little bit faster than you'd expect a Victor bomber to be doing. But that's all good. We're doing 310 knots. He's programmed to be 260, and we will catch him up. So whilst we're catching him up, let's talk about some of the nuances of tanking with this thing. One, it's a big heavy bomber. I love the fact that it has a lot of lag in the roll, but it's really smooth, it's not pitchy. It's as you'd expect a big heavy bomber to be, which I absolutely love. So that's the good thing. The bad thing is it has a lot of inertia, so you need to make sure you're nice and stable, as you always do. But the other thing it has is very slow engines. With the engines, if you pull back to idle in a panic to try and reduce your closure rate, you'll find that you'll drop back pretty quickly, but then they take a long time to spool back up and give you the thrust, so you can end up dropping really far behind if you're not quick about it. So those two features combined, and then adding on the fact that we don't have a HUD or any references, and we'll talk about some references as we go in a minute, it just makes it very, very tricky. Okay, we are closing in on the mighty Victor, and you'll see that it's got 3 drogues trailing, which is awesome. So we're going to go for the center one just for a change. But how cool does that look? So I'm not going to go alongside, but I am just going to pull up towards where the drogues would be and just make sure I'm aligned with the Victor. So I'm not going too far wide, not going too far close. I'm just sat here ready for pre-contact. Now the nice thing about the Vulcan is it actually simulates air-to-air refueling on its own, but it's not synced with the app. So if I was to reach across here and flick the master switch,
clear to connect.
You can hear that it says clear to connect.
Contact, fuel transferring.
And based on time, I guess, it then says you're contacted, but it's not linked with the app. So I'll switch that off.
Disconnect, fuel transfer complete.
Very cool. So we're not going to use the switches in cockpit to refuel, we're just going to make contact with the basket. So moving across. Next effort is to stabilise the stern and make sure we're on the centre line. And I've probably got him set going a little bit fast, to be honest, but we'll work with it, it's fine. Okay, this is fairly stable. Make sure the trim's working out for me. Alright, so here we are nicely astern, looking to stabilise. Look at those drogues wafting in the breeze, that's very cool. And we will try and drive ourselves forwards, but you'll notice you've got no references, so there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can either guess, which is where I am now, and just drive in with that sort of picture, or you can go high and put the drogue tip, no, the probe tip, over the drogue and then drive down onto it. Keeping your eye and the probe tip and the drogue lined up is one way of doing it. I do a combination of both, to be honest, so I'll stay roughly level with the basket and then drive it in until such time that the probe tip overlaps the drogue, and then I'll drive it down and in as required. So there's my top tips for actually getting the basket. Okay, time to drive it in. So we don't want to stagnate. We want to keep driving in nice and smooth. Because if you start stagnating, that's when you'll start over controlling. Small left and right corrections, small up and down corrections. Driving it down, going a little bit low. And a miss. That's fair enough. Bring back the power, stabilise, make sure we don't overshoot, and we'll try again. Joust number 1. Okay, let's try that again. Good position, keep it stable. And moving in. Driving it down to the basket, down to the basket, down to the basket. Hey, that's pretty good. It magnetised up a little bit, but actually it came back down to where I was, so I'm going to count it as a direct hit. I like it. And now we are connected. You probably hear the engines in the background spooling up and down really quickly because I'm struggling to find that sweet spot. Oh no, don't drop out the basket. We'll figure it out. As we're here, you can see that heat haze from the Victor engines because the engines are near the wing root. If you were to go too far up in a real aircraft, in any real aircraft, you'll hit the buffet of the engine, so it's important that you don't go too high such that you start getting buffeted around. Alright, we're doing alright. Okay, so whilst faffing with the external camera angles, I managed to drop out the end of the basket, so let's do one more joust and we'll call it a day. So here we go. Come on. Here we go. Seems to be going in the right direction, so I'll keep it going. Small correction to the bank, drive it down, a little bit of right rudder. I cheated with the right rudder, which is, it's valid. I mean, it works, doesn't it? Alright, I think we're good enough. Oh, we've dropped it anyway, so that's cool. Is it retracting? It is retracting. Check that out. It's retracting the hoses. That's amazing. How cool is that? Right, let's drive on over here. We'll formate and say see ya in just a sec. There's that size comparison I was talking about. I mean, I know there's a bit of perspective going on here, but my goodness, the Vulcan is huge compared to that Victor. Absolutely stunning though. Let's try going underneath it. Yes. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It is huge. So now we've said see you to the tanker, let's check out the bombs and do our fly past of Port Stanley. Okay, the weather's clagged in a little bit, but we've made it down to the Falklands. We're about to release our weapons, and yes, we're actually going to drop them off the Vulcan. First off, we need to make sure, well, we're up at 13,000 feet, that'll do nicely. We'll open the weapon bay door, bomb bay door, let's have a look. Here's the view from the bomb bay. See the runway coming into view. Very cool. I have absolutely no idea when to release these, so I'm going to have to guess a little bit based on sticking my head out of the weapon bay. It's got to be around about now. Let's do it. Here's the release button. 3, 2, 1. Bombs away. Good release. Mission complete. And that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Till the next time, take care.